Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. On November 13th, 2014, a police convoy made its way to the remote village of Cotepe, about 140 miles west of Tegucigalpa, the capital of Honduras. Leading the officers was a young man named Valentin Maldonado. As they climbed the rugged mountain terrain, Valentin finally pointed to a well in the rocky ground. When the officers approached, they noticed something disturbing. Two bodies buried just beneath the surface. The tension in the air was thick, confirming their worst fear. Valentin had been telling the truth. He had been forced to bury the bodies of two sisters, Maria Jose Alvarado and Sofia Trinidad, who had been missing for 6 days. Maria Jose Alvarado was born on July 29, 1995, in Santa Barbara, Honduras, into a modest, hardworking family. From a young age, she was incredibly close to her two older sisters, Sofia Trinidad and Karina. As a child, Maria Jose loved watching beauty pageants on television, dreaming of one day becoming a model herself. That dream started becoming reality in 2012 when, at just 15, she was discovered by designer Sergio Garcia. Thanks to his connections, Maria Jose entered the Miss Teen Honduras pageant, where she impressed everyone and finished in second place. This marked the beginning of her modeling career. Afterward, she moved to Tegucigalpa to pursue bigger opportunities in the industry. Before long, she had landed a modeling job on one of the country's most popular TV shows, a Sunday program that held the highest viewership in Honduras. But despite her growing fame, Maria Jose stayed grounded. She knew the entertainment world could be unpredictable and short-lived, so she enrolled in a technical high school in Santa Barbara. She was about to graduate as a computer science technician, ready to start a career in technology if modeling didn't work out. Still, her heart was set on winning the Miss Honduras world title and competing on the global stage. In April 2014, Maria Jose's dream came true. She won the Miss Honduras world title, captivating the audience with her pride in Honduras' cultural diversity. She spoke passionately about her country's rich traditions, religious beliefs, and the various ethnic groups that made up its vibrant population. On April 26th, she was crowned queen, and her modeling career continued to rise. By October, she was presenting awards at the Queen of the Tropics International Competition, a prestigious event. Sadly, that would be the last time the public saw her smiling on camera. Her win at Miss Honduras World qualified her to represent her country at the Miss World 2014 competition in London. For months, she trained tirelessly, working out at the gym and studying with a tutor to sharpen her skills and prepare for the international stage. She was scheduled to fly to London on November 19th, filled with excitement for the pageant and the opportunities ahead. However, not everything in Maria Jose's life was picture perfect. Her sister, Sofia, had gone through a painful experience after her boyfriend was murdered in 2013. Eventually, she began dating Plutarco Ruiz, a 28-year-old man. But this relationship wasn't a happy one. Plutarco had a shady reputation, with rumors swirling that he was involved in illegal activities. His family had a known history of crime, and many believed Plutarco was following in their footsteps. Despite his criminal connections, it wasn't his alleged activities that caused problems in his relationship with Sofia. It was his intense jealousy. Plutarco was possessive, aggressive, and sometimes physically violent. Maria Jose noticed changes in Sofia after she started dating him. She became more reserved, and bruises began to show up on her body. Despite these warning signs and breaking up with Plutarco multiple times, Sofia always ended up back in his arms. In early November 2014, Sofia decided to give Plutarco another chance. She organized a birthday party for him and asked Maria Jose to come along for support. It was meant to be a big gathering, and Maria Jose was in Santa Barbara anyway for a school exam. So Sofia figured it would be a good opportunity for the sisters to spend some time together. Initially, Maria Jose was hesitant to attend. She was stressed about her upcoming evaluation and busy preparing for her trip to London. But after Sofia insisted, Maria Jose eventually agreed to join her. On the evening of November 13, 2014, at around 6:30 p.m., 3 of Plutarco's employees arrived to pick up Maria Jose for the party, taking her to the hot springs resort, Agua Caliente. Although her mother, Teresa, advised against it, Maria Jose assured her that she wouldn't be gone long. She left the house, promising to return soon. But as the night dragged on, there was still no sign of Maria Jose or Sofia. By the next morning, Teresa was in full panic mode. Neither daughter had returned home, and neither had made any effort to contact her. Sofia had even left her phone behind. Growing increasingly worried, Teresa reached out to Plutarco Ruiz, hoping he could provide some answers. When he arrived, he seemed concerned and claimed that the sisters had left the party early with 2 men from Copan. Teresa was confused. Her daughters would never leave without telling her, especially Maria Jose, who had a crucial exam the following day. Desperate, Teresa called Maria Jose's school to see if she had shown up for the exam, but she hadn't. Anxiety now overwhelmed her, and she immediately contacted the police to report both daughters missing. By November 15th, the search had begun in earnest. Investigators quickly ruled out the possibility of a ransom kidnapping, as no one had demanded money. With Maria Jose being a well-known figure in the country, the news spread like wildfire, and the entire nation held its breath, praying for the safe return of the Alvarado sisters. Initially, the investigation centered on Plutarco's account of the night, in which he repeatedly stated that the sisters had left with 2 men. However, the police didn't stop there. They interviewed other people who had attended the party, and several witnesses confirmed seeing 2 men showing interest in Maria Jose and Sofia, asking them to dance and chat. Some witnesses even recalled hearing gunshots around 10 p.m., which caused panic and led to many guests leaving the party early. These details made investigators consider the possibility that human trafficking could be involved, though they had no solid evidence to back up the theory. The last known location of the sisters was the Agua Caliente thermal baths, so the investigation shifted focus there. The resort was owned by Ventura Diaz, who ran it with his wife, Elizabeth. At first, both Ventura and Elizabeth were hesitant to allow a police search of the premises, but they eventually complied and provided their own statements. Their version of events eerily echoed Plutarco's story. They, too, claimed that 2 men from Copan had danced with Maria Jose and Sofia before leaving with them. This strange similarity in their accounts raised red flags for the authorities, who began to suspect that Plutarco, Ventura, and Elizabeth were covering for one another. Now, Ventura and Elizabeth were also on the police radar as potential suspects. To test their stories, the police decided to interrogate Plutarco, Ventura, and Elizabeth separately, asking increasingly detailed questions about the night the sisters vanished. It didn't take long for their stories to unravel. The inconsistencies in their statements made it clear that they were lying, and the police now considered Plutarco the prime suspect due to his close relationship with Sofia. Friends and family members of Sofia were questioned about her relationship with Plutarco, and almost everyone pointed to his violent, jealous tendencies. It soon became clear that Plutarco had a troubling criminal history, including ties to other disappearances and connections to criminal cartels. Meanwhile, police kept a close eye on Ventura and Elizabeth. They obtained a search warrant for the resort and, upon inspection, found the floors suspiciously spotless, as if they had been recently scrubbed clean. Suspicious of a possible cover-up, the police conducted tests to see if there had been any attempt to erase evidence. Using luminol, they discovered large amounts of blood that had been carefully wiped away. Bullet holes were also found, confirming the witness reports of gunfire during the party. With this new evidence, everything started to fall into place. The investigation intensified, and the police subjected Ventura, Elizabeth, and a new suspect, Valentine Maldonado, to further questioning. Valentine was an old childhood friend of Plutarco's and had been his right-hand man for many years. After hours of relentless interrogation, the pressure became too much, and Valentine finally broke down. He confessed to everything that had happened that night. Ventura and Elizabeth, realizing they could no longer avoid justice, also began to cooperate. Valentine Maldonado wasn't working with Plutarco anymore, but on November 13th, their paths crossed again. Plutarco asked him to bring Maria Jose to the party that evening. Maria Jose arrived at the thermal baths around 7 p.m., and her presence was immediately noticed. It was impossible for the beauty queen to go unnoticed. People flocked around her, taking pictures with the famous Miss Honduras. While Maria Jose enjoyed the attention, Sofia was having a miserable time. Plutarco had been drinking heavily, and Sofia sat beside him, clearly uncomfortable. Despite the tension between them, the party continued, and the guests remained in high spirits. At one point, a young man from Copen noticed Sofia's distress and asked her to dance, to which she agreed. Plutarco watched them closely, growing increasingly impatient. When a slow song started and Sofia danced more intimately with the young man, Plutarco couldn't control his rage. He stood up, shouting that he would kill them both. His violent outburst left everyone in shock, and he ordered the party to end immediately, forcing most of the guests to leave. With only a few people remaining and the atmosphere tense, Maria Jose and Sofia tried to calm Plutarco down, but nothing worked. The owners of the thermal baths, Ventura and Elizabeth, witnessed the altercation but chose not to intervene. As the argument between Sofia and Plutarco escalated, he began verbally and physically attacking her. Tired of the abuse, Sofia decided it was time to leave. However, leaving wasn't as easy as she had hoped. Plutarco warned her that if she walked out, she would regret it. Ignoring his threats, Sofia turned toward the door, but at that moment, Plutarco pulled out a gun and shot her 8 times in the back. Maria Jose, horrified, watched in shock as her sister fell to the ground. She rushed to Sofia's side, screaming and cursing at her brother-in-law. This only fueled Plutarco's anger further. He reloaded the gun and fired 16 more shots, killing Maria Jose instantly. After the brutal murders, Plutarco threatened the remaining guests, warning them to stay silent or face the same fate as the sisters. He then ordered Ventura and Elizabeth to fetch tools to bury the bodies, and they obeyed without question. Plutarco asked Valentine for help, and together they loaded the bodies into a white pickup truck. They drove to a wooded area near a river, where Plutarco forced Valentine to dig a grave while he sat inside the vehicle. It took 6 hours for Valentine to complete the task, after which they buried the sisters. Meanwhile, Ventura and Elizabeth cleaned the blood off the dance floor, trying to erase any evidence of the crime. Later, Plutarco sold the rear cabin of the truck to a paint shop in San Nicolas, hoping to cover his tracks. Confident that he had removed all traces of his crime, Plutarco went to Teresa's house, pretending to be a concerned boyfriend, confident that no one would suspect him. However, Valentine eventually broke under the pressure of police questioning. Not only did he confess, but he also led authorities to the burial site in Santa Barbara. When the police arrived, they climbed a mountain and found the bodies of Sofia and Maria Jose partially uncovered, 6 days after they had gone missing. The news devastated their mother, Teresa, who only wanted to see justice served. The police devised a careful plan to arrest Plutarco, making sure he wouldn't realize they were closing in on him. They showed him photos of fake suspects, pretending that they were the men from Copen who supposedly left with the sisters. Plutarco, still unaware, confidently pointed to one of the men in the photos, further proving that his entire story was a lie. With all the evidence in place, the police obtained an arrest warrant. When they searched his home, they found the clothes he had worn on the night of the crime, along with the weapon he used. They also tracked down the paint shop where he had sold the truck's rear cabin. The owner of the shop cooperated with authorities and handed over the crucial piece of evidence. DNA traces of Sofia and Maria Jose were found in the truck cabin, stained with their blood. The net was closing in, and there was no escaping justice for Plutarco. Plutarco initially denied his involvement, trying to blame the owners of the thermal baths for the crime. However, faced with undeniable evidence, he eventually admitted guilt, though he continued to behave as if he were following a scripted performance. Plutarco was transferred to jail while awaiting trial, and by then the case had become widely publicized. Surprisingly, he smiled confidently for the cameras during his transfer, showing no remorse. Many speculated that Plutarco was faking mental illness to reduce his sentence. During his trial, which began on April 24, 2017 in Tegucigalpa, He entered the courtroom muttering and foaming at the mouth, forcing the court to call in a psychiatrist. After evaluation, it was confirmed that Plutarco was mentally sound and faking his symptoms. Karina, a close relative, testified about Sofia's abusive relationship with Plutarco, describing how he controlled her life, from what she wore to whether she could study or have friends. She also revealed Plutarco's disturbing obsession with Maria Jose. This testimony, along with the brutal evidence of the crime, led to his conviction. In May 2017, Plutarco was sentenced to 45 years in prison, 30 years for the murder of Sofia and an additional 15 years for the murder of Maria Jose. Valentin Ventura and Elizabeth received 4-year sentences for helping cover up the crime. The shocking murders of the Alvarado sisters deeply affected the nation. In response, the national organization overseeing beauty pageants decided not to send a representative to Miss World that year as a tribute to Maria Jose. Julia Morley, president of Miss World, expressed her sorrow and announced a memorial service for Maria Jose. The tragedy also sparked protests across Honduras, with thousands demanding an end to violence. Andre Pavin, a human rights activist, highlighted that while overall murders had decreased, crimes against women continued to rise, with 96% going unpunished. On January 12, 2023, while serving his sentence in Santa Barbara prison, Plutarco was shot by 2 inmates. Prison authorities quickly intervened and launched an investigation into the incident, promising to improve security measures. Despite the sentencing, the impact of this tragedy continues to be felt in Honduras and beyond. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more shocking and compelling stories ahead.